options other than I just have this pinned video and I don't know why it's pinned.
Because I pinned it.
Oh,
So for everybody, it's pinned. So that, like, because sometimes people, if they unmute themselves, then their face pops up on the screen. So it's whoever's talking, active speaker or pinned spotlight.
oh, okay.
When do we throw your cake?
So
in
you're-
there?
So I will
We'll
see
do
someone else
that
if you pin
like
someone else.
10 minutes.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
you
There's
guys.
10 minutes to go here.
Okay. Good. Do we want to put it on?
Karen, you wanna get ready?
Yeah.
Camera, it's 6 o'clock, so I'm
Whoa,
gonna go
you
live.
wanna know what? I like to wrap it for.
Oh, okay. So we'll just have the foil out and we can show them that we normally like to do that.
I'm going to push it live.
Okay, she's gonna push us live.
Can I do that on Zoom?
No.
Just remember that this starts recording before everyone else can see it live. So then we go back. So there will be some pre-roll.
Got it, we got it. Prepping the kids then.
Great.
Love it. I actually enjoy doing this. That's because I can't cook at all. So
Yes, you
this
can.
is
You
a
learned so
learning
much.
experience. I couldn't repeat any of it. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we had a big turnout for the charcuterie board.
I know. That was so surprising. Because it seemed like the easiest, but maybe that's why people liked it.
Yeah, well, and like, you know,
Are we ready yet?
it's not just square cheeses and it's not your cheddar and Swiss. You know, it's not
Exactly.
cubes of cheese. You take different things.
Hey. Wardrobe. Looking sharp.
We are live. Welcome, everybody. This is Beth Ryder with the Ryder Elite team. And with me is Chef Jude.
Good
Welcome
evening,
back.
everyone. How's it going?
What are we gonna make tonight? Tonight we're making our spicy Sicilian lasagna. And what do we have with that?
We're gonna do some garlic herb infused olive oil for a little bread dipping.
That sounds great.
And then we're gonna make a cocktail, the Negroni Sbagliato.
Okay, and if we butchered that, someone, if
Please
you
fill
guys
us in,
wanna
yeah.
let us know
Fill
how to
us in
say it.
how to say that one.
Absolutely.
Google Translate usually works best for me.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Everyone, if you're all ready to go, first things first, we want to make sure that we preheat our oven to 375. We want to make sure that we get a sauce pot out, something that's relatively good in size. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be grounding some meats and adding some tomatoes to that so that way we'll make our own fresh homemade
Okay.
sauce.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead, we'll get it going.
So kind of our timeline tonight is gonna be to get the sauce started. That's kind of our longest lead time item, right?
Yeah, we want to get our sauce working and doing its thing because we want all those flavors to blend together just fine, right? Nice and well before we make our lasagna and build. So then we'll get our sauce going. We'll make our olive oil because we want to make sure that our herbs are infused into that as well. So that way when we dip our bread in it, you're going to be able to taste them.
I love that.
We are going to make our cocktail for cocktail hour when everyone's ready. All right. For our Sicilian lasagna,
And
we're
what makes
gonna-
it Sicilian versus like a regular?
using spicy sausage. Sicilian
Oh.
adds a little more spice to it.
I like that.
All right. All right. Well, got some oil here. I got our heat on high. We're going to be sauteing some onions, get us started off.
Perfect.
So what we want to do is a little olive oil in there. Take some of our onions, add a small dice. You don't want them too big because you're going to want to make sure that you're not going to notice them when you're eating them in the sauce. You're not going to want a big chunk
That makes
of
sense.
onion, right? How
Absolutely.
wet was that? You don't want that.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure that this is on high, get it going. Saute. We're going to saute this for about maybe 5 minutes. Depends on how high your heat is. So if your heat's on really, really high, keep an eye on them. We don't want to burn them,
Yeah.
but we want to cook them pretty fast. We want to extract the sugars. out of the onion as fast as possible.
Perfect.
We don't want to add our garlic just yet because we don't want to burn our garlic.
So
What
we
we,
wanna let this get softer first.
yeah, so
let
the
this
onions
cook.
are a little translucent, so they're clear to see through, so to speak.
Perfect.
Yep, and then we'll add our garlic to that. What we want to do is just infuse those flavors and get enhanced it for our sauce.
Perfect.
Mhm.
That sounds great.
There we're going. So we got our Italian sausage. We got some ground beef. We're gonna add to that. We got some pepperonis.
I never really thought you would put pepperoni in your lasagna, so I'm thinking this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and we don't want to use a whole lot, but we want to do enough. And we're gonna add a little more spice to it. So you're gonna notice how we do it, where we're gonna be able to, you'll taste it, right? And then it'll just blend well and have that nice little spice kick to it to the end. So while that's going, we're just gonna chop these down just a little bit. Rough chop, not too big, not too small. But we just want to get them chopped up nicely so that it'll blend well into the sauce, so you don't notice it a whole lot. And like you said, you don't get a big slice of pepperoni.
Right. But they're not too small, so that's pretty good.
No,
size.
a nice
Yeah,
good size, and you'll see they'll
absolutely.
go nicely in there.
And then for anyone who joined us late, make sure you have your oven on and make sure you have your temperature on your stove on high. So we can get that, so those onions cooking.
Yeah, see here, see how our onions are starting to get a little translucent, little clear in color there.
Yep.
That's what we're looking for before we add our garlic. I want to take a nice good pinch of garlic. And I usually do a good mince on it. A mince is smaller than your small dice.
Right.
You know, same thing with your onion. You don't want to take a bite of it and get a chunk of garlic in there, overpower all the other flavors.
Right, absolutely.
So we want to make sure that we don't do that. Or you get the kids to sit at the table and do the old razor blade on the
Yep.
garlic like they did in the Goodfellas, right?
Exactly.
That's right. All right.
Not
once our-
really, don't try that at home.
Right. Once our garlic gets going, we're gonna open up our ground meats here. We're gonna wanna ground these up fully. Then we're gonna wanna strain the sauce off of them. Usually we got our big pots because we don't wanna overfill it, right? So when making a meat sauce, it is exactly just that. It's meat with some sauce and tomatoes, you know, not to be confused with a marinara or a pomodoro, which are all tomato-based sauces.
Wow,
guys, how are ya?
there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure we down this up here. So making lasagna is always kind of intimidating for people, right? They're always afraid of, I don't want to do it, or it's
Seems
too
like a
much
lot of
work,
work.
right? It seems like it's a lot of work. And in reality, it's really not. I mean, you can buy these handy dandy noodles,
I know, I
That
can't
is-
believe it.
oven ready lasagna noodles, no boiling necessary,
I
right?
just
These are-
found out about this.
These are
today.
new out on the market. They've been out for a few years, but it saves you from wrecking your lasagna noodles, the traditional ones that you gotta boil and
That's
build. And
fantastic.
yeah, it just
Plus it's a
time
lot
saver.
of work.
Yeah, it's a
To
time
boil all
saver.
that, get your croutons, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Get your sauce. Well, and it's a simpler way. So to make lasagna, you can simplify it. You could buy a nice, sauce that's in a jar, and your ricotta cheese and mozzarella cheese, and it becomes a simpler process when you
Absolutely.
do it that way. So we want to make sure that we break up the sausage nicely too, so that way we don't get no big chunks
Right.
of meat in there as well.
You're really doing a good job of kind of getting those smaller pieces, which isn't that easy with the meat, so.
No, and having that big pot really helping us, so
I
we're not
agree.
having to worry about stuff flying out of the pan too much.
Right.
Okay, what we're gonna do is fold. tomatoes in, because we're gonna want to save our can. Reason being is there's gonna be a lot of grease coming off of that Italian sausage.
Okay.
The ground meat, there's gonna be a good amount coming off of that as well. And I always use the Cento tomatoes when I make my sauce.
Okay.
These are high quality tomatoes straight from Italy. And just the tomatoes that they use is a world of difference compared to your Hunt's tomatoes.
Oh, good to know though. So you can buy it in any supermarket?
Typically, all your supermarkets, Fry's, Safeway, Albertsons, Bash's has them.
So how's everybody doing there? Is everybody caught up to us? Jennifer, can you see it in the chat box?
No, we just had a question about where the noodles can be purchased, so.
In-
Any local.
At any local grocery store, you can purchase these. They're going to be located right next to all your other pasta noodles. They're typically on the top shelf. So
Love it. I think this is such a time saver.
yeah, it's fantastic. I once had someone cooking for me tell me that they just use the old pasta noodles and they just, oh, I just build my lasagna and I bake it like that. And I'm like, how long are you baking your lasagna? for,
Right.
man?"
That would be tasty.
Yeah, it's a bit crunchy, huh? So as your meat starts to render down some, you'll see how we're getting, how that fat's coming out of there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we don't want that into our sauce, otherwise
Absolutely
it'll
not.
just sit on top and have a greasy mess on your hands. And as it's cooking, you're able to start breaking this.
Down even further.
Yeah,
So we're looking for no pink, everything to just start turning brown.
uh-huh.
What if we don't cook it all the way? Is there a problem with that? Do we want to cook it, make sure it's all the way?
So for right now, what we're, if you didn't get some of those pieces fully cooked, since we are making lasagna and we're baking it, it will eventually be fully cooked.
Okay.
Okay, so if there was a little piece like this that didn't fully cook, it will cook in lasagna because we're gonna be baking the lasagna for another 25 minutes.
Right.
So it'll get there. But if you were to make just a meat sauce, let's just say we were gonna make this meat sauce and put it over some spaghetti or any other pasta noodle, you're definitely gonna wanna make sure
That's good.
that you fully cook this ground meat. Ground meats and poultry are the two number one proteins that cause foodborne illnesses because they're undercooked.
Yeah, totally agree. That's why I was asking. Just want to make sure that if someone's in a rush, they leave it a little bit undercooked, we're good putting it in the oven and we should be fine.
Yep. And as long as they're not real big chunks, so even if it's a chunk like that big right there, that's gonna be fine. It's gonna cook
Perfect.
in your lasagna. So now that we got this guy's almost done here.
Okay, ours is smelling delicious. I don't know how you guys are doing at home. Let us know, put any notes or comments in the chat box.
Smell that, yeah, you smell
my
that
gosh,
crushed red
looks
pepper from
amazing.
that Italian
Love
sausage,
it.
right?
I love spicy, so anything spicy is great for me.
Yeah, so you don't want, so we're gonna add the salami and the pepperoni. We want to add that later on because we don't want to pull out too much of that grease, right? And then what happens is they become real chewy. So
Oh,
they're
that makes
already cured, so we can just essentially throw them into our sauce later on if we want to, so that way they'll just blend right in there. Not a lot of oil's gonna come off of them either.
Right, that makes sense.
So now that we got our ground meat all good to go here, the reason I dumped our tomatoes in here is because I saved our can for a strain. So you're gonna want to strain off all that fat. So I got a
Come
strainer.
on over, because
I
this is
got a
really interesting.
can.
I love the way you're gonna do this right now.
The reason being is you want to make sure that you don't put all that grease into your garbage disposal. What
Okay.
happens to cold grease? Solidifies, gets hard, right? You just
So it's
don't
gonna
want that.
strain directly into the can.
Yep, so what we're gonna do
So it's going right in the can.
is,
All right, there you go, sorry.
no, you're good. So we're gonna get all that grease off of here. And it's gonna go right in there. What that's gonna allow you to do is let it sit on the countertop for a good 20 minutes. By the time your lasagna is done, that can go right into the trash. You don't have to worry about it.
Love it.
We're gonna return that to our heat. We're just gonna give it a little mix here, make sure we got all that grease out.
I'll bring your bowl back to you.
Okay, good. All right. Already smells like pasta sauce, right?
It smells amazing.
All right.
Perfect.
See, and then captured all that grease. Look how much grease was on that.
Wow.
See
You
how
certainly
much-
don't want that in your disposal.
No, or in your sauce. So that's a good thing that we get that out of the way. We're gonna return this to the heat. Now we're gonna add our tomatoes. Nice crushed tomato. Now, if you're gonna use a whole tomato, let's just say you're gonna make a red sauce, a marinara. You can use the peeled whole tomatoes if you want to,
Okay.
but you don't want to make your meat sauce with those because you don't want to blend your meat with those tomatoes. If you're gonna do that, you want to make your sauce, blend it, make that, and then add your ground meats to it.
To it. So,
Cooked. You don't want
Correct.
to make sure
Okay.
that it's not.
and we
uncooked.
used a whole can of sauce.
That is correct.
Okay. I can take that.
Yeah, when I make sauce, I usually do this whole pot full and I'll divide it up into freezer bags so that way I have like a lasagna bag and I'll have like a spaghetti bag or like a pizza bag so that way you have different size freezer bags of pasta sauce.
That's a great idea. So you can just take one out for one meal, so you can save a little bit at a time. So you don't have to
Yeah,
make-
I'll make like probably 4 or 5 cans of sauce.
Wow.
And I'll make a lot, so then that way I'll save a big chunk, like, right, that's my lasagnas for when I want lasagna. Or when I want to make a pizza, I'll have a littler bag that's gonna have a little more paste in it, so that way it'll spread and there's not a lot of water.
Perfect. Do you always put a date on it? I always wondered that too. When you put it in the
Oh.
freezer, you put a date, so you know, like when you put it in.
You can, try not to leave it in there for a year.
Right.
So obviously, when you make sauce, have that. Anything you put in your freezer, you want to be conscious of how long it's been in there. So a date's always a good, thing to be like, oh yeah.
So how long does it stay? So if you were to put your spaghetti sauce in the freezer, how long would it be good? 6 months?
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's in a freezer type bag, it'll stay for a long time.
Okay, perfect. All right, now we're gonna let that just kind of cook.
Simmer
need a
down.
minute?
We want to add our dry spices.
Okay.
So we have our mixed blend here. It's got some sugar and oregano and basil, some fennel seed.
So on your recipe, it's all of our dry spices.
It's all of our dry spices. I'm gonna add this in here. The reason we're adding a little bit of sugar is to kind of sweeten up the tomatoes. Since we're using the crushed tomatoes, it's gonna have a lot of acidity. Same
Okay.
thing when we add a little paste to it. We're not gonna add the paste just yet because we don't want to thicken
Thicken
it
it
real
up.
fast, right? We'll do that in a little bit after our
After it's.
flavors blend together. Yep.
Okay.
We don't want to, you can add your other meats, your salami and your pepperoni now. I would wait, about a good 10 minutes or so before you add that, just like I said, so we're not going to extract all the grease from it and then defeat the purpose of straining all the grease that we just did.
Right. And what are we cooking it on now? Are we cooking on?
We're
low?
gonna have it on a nice low, nice simmer.
Okay.
So just bringing it up to temperature and let it bubble lightly. We then move on to our next step.
Wonderful. All right.
All right. These guys will just move to the side. All right,
A little
I
lower.
want to turn that baby down. There we go. Yep, just so it's got a nice
You don't need to
light,
hear it.
light little bubble. That's right. You don't want to hear it. If it's yelling at you, then attend to it. That's right. That's right.
Like that.
All right, so our next step here, we're gonna do an infused olive oil. What we're gonna need is we're gonna need a little garlic. We're gonna need some olive oil. We're gonna throw some fresh rosemary in there. And we're gonna throw some shallot in there. How we wanna do this is we wanna cut our shallot up. We wanna get this guy nice and fine. What I do is just take this little skin layer off. You see it splits into two halves there.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll just cut it right down the middle there and make it easier to make that really fine dice on it.
And remind us all the difference between an onion and a shallot.
So the shallot is like a cross between a red onion and garlic.
Okay.
And
Oh,
provides lots and lots of flavor. So
perfect.
from here, what I'll do is I'll cut it this way lengthwise, because it will break apart like an onion. There's many layers to it. So that way, when I turn it sideways like this, I'm able to get a real good
Oh, that's
mince
good.
to
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And the more cuts you make, the smaller your dice will be.
Got it.
So this one's gonna break apart a little easier than an onion, because it's already broken down smaller. So
I still need to learn the art of cutting because you can slice and dice very quickly.
it's many years of practice, pounds and pounds and bags of carrots, celery, onions, peppers, mushrooms. The claw technique.
Oh,
So you're
good way to
holding it
think
with your
about it.
thumb. You're using your guide right here. This flat space is your
So
guide.
you don't get the finger
Yeah,
tip,
no fingertips.
so you're
Keep
going
them out of
in
your
like that.
sauce. Yeah, nice claw technique. And as you hold it like that, and as you're cutting, you're bringing your hand together. You're sliding it.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
All right, so we got our shallot nice and minced up there. For the rosemary, pretty simple process. If you hold it here, you strip all your leaves off.
And fresh rosemary is so good.
All fresh herbs are just
That is
fantastic.
true.
Like that.
That smells amazing.
Yeah. And the reason we want to cut this up as well is because we're going to break the oils out, which are going to infuse our oil for our bread. So we could let them set in. If you didn't want to cut them up, you could just break it like this and set them in there. I would recommend letting it sit for 24 hours.
Because there's less openings, so
Right.
that just can't. all
They'll take
separate.
longer to
Makes sense.
infuse the oil. So for time's sake, we'll then hold it up as well. Nice little pinch of garlic.
Do you like one olive oil over another? What do you prefer for something like this? But
For something like this,
there's hundreds of choices.
you're
literally.
definitely going to want to go with something that is going to be on the higher end spectrum because of the taste profile, right?
So when you say higher end, okay, I always think of priced. So am I just looking for the more expensive, or what am I looking for in the container?
Typically, your more expensive olive oils are going to be that, right? So
Okay.
it's just how it's processed is what the difference of the levels
Price
are.
point is.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But just a nice, rich, extra virgin olive oil is the way to go, right? So that's going to allow us to get the maximum amount of flavor
Perfect.
for the bread. So nice on your palate.
Right, that looks amazing.
So
I
what
love
we
that
want
it's
to do
all
is just,
fresh.
yep, and just let it set. How's our sauce doing? Beth?
I'm gonna
Give it a
stir
stir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just making noise over here.
All right. How's that looking? Looking
Really,
good?
really good.
Excellent. It's looking good. All right, our next step here, we got our ricotta cheese.
Okay.
You're gonna want an egg. Crack an egg in here. Not
That would be a
one.
hard boiled egg.
Not that one.
Put that back. The other eggs are in the other.
One of the greatest kitchen pranks of all time
That is funny.
is throw the hard.
I'm a hard boiled egg eater, so
accidentally grabbed the wrong one.
It's always a good one. I like to prank new cooks in the kitchen with is take a hard boiled egg and you put it in a flat of egg. So then they'll put it in a container and then there's a hard boiled egg in there. That's always a fun.
That is fun. I'm sure there's other pranks in the kitchen too.
Yeah, that's a good one though. 'Cause
They're
it
not expecting it?
confuses them every time. So we got our ricotta, we got our egg in there, and the reason we're gonna add our egg is to help bind the ricotta as
Right.
it bakes, right?
Yep.
Because we don't want it to get loose. There's liquid in here. When we add the heat, more liquid's gonna come out. right?
Absolutely.
So what we're gonna do is we got our chopped parsley.
Okay.
We're gonna go a little bit in here. We're gonna put a little in our sauce as well.
Oh, great idea.
You know that fresh chopped parsley is a good way to extract sodium, salt.
Oh,
taste
really?
in things. Yeah, so if you're making a sauce and it's a little too salty, then adding your fresh parsley into it will really cut that salt flavor. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this well. Wanna scramble that egg a little bit so we can get it in here. Just so it's mixed together. All right, we got that back. That's ready to go for when we need it. We'll set that aside. And let's chop up some of our salami. Ready to add it to our sauce. So obviously, the longer you let your sauce go, the more flavor profile you're gonna build out.
Right, everything's just blending together,
Absolutely, it's
cooking together.
gonna do what it needs to do.
I don't know about you guys at home, but I'm surprised of adding these too. No, Italian sausage, I love that. I love adding that. But the thought of adding the Italian sausage and the hamburger and these two are very interesting to me. I've never seen that done before. Have you guys at home?
It's just gonna bring it up, right? So-
Right, a whole nother
Whole nother
level
level,
with
that's right.
lots more flavors.
So this guy, same thing, we're gonna wanna cut him down. Just like our
Right.
pepperoni there. Just so that way, when you catch a bite of it, you're like, hey. that was
Absolutely.
nice. So these guys, we can go ahead and dump those right into our sauce.
Put in the sauce,
Yep.
perfect, all right. We have a couple people who are appreciating the smell.
They're already in the oven?
They are.
Man, they started
What?
at 4 o'clock.
Started before you.
They started before us, that's okay.
I love that this smell is amazing. All right, Chef.
No, you're doing good,
go
you're
ahead.
doing good. You're doing good, trying to break up those chunks of salami and pepperoni in there. Blended well there, looks like it's all blended pretty good,
It's nice and thick.
yeah. And lasagna is not to be saucy like your spaghetti.
I know, I think
or
we
your
don't
meatballs.
think about that.
No, actually, lasagna is not really made with red sauce. Traditionally, lasagna is made with the bechamel, which is a white sauce.
Right.
So you use that as when you're layering it and you bake it, and then it's topped with your red sauce.
So is that more of an American way to do it, would be the red sauce?
Yes, that would be the Americanized version of the lasagna. That looks good.
That's fantastic.
All right, then what we're gonna need is we're gonna need a casserole pan,
That's it.
like this guy here.
Perfect.
We're gonna need our handy dandy pan. What's this? Lifesavers for the dishes? Absolutely.
Non-stick, love it.
Just a nice little light coat because it's gonna bake and it's gonna create a mess, so Want to make sure that you don't have to use so much elbow grease when you gotta clean it later. All right, we got our sauce, we got our ricotta, we got our mozzarella. For you at home, some of you have some sliced mozzarella, some of you have some shredded mozzarella. It's not really gonna matter which one you have. We'll show you both techniques. You gotta remember when you're using mozzarella that it spreads a lot, right? Like on a pizza.
Right,
Think
right.
about a pizza, an over
No.
cheesed pizza, how much mozzarella is on it, right? So you're gonna want to remember as we make these layers, try not to go too heavy on it. So if you have the slices and laying them out accordingly, so that way as it melts, it'll blend together nicely.
Perfect. Do
So
you
what,
prefer shredded or it's sliced?
for making lasagna, I would prefer the shredded because then you can control it a little bit more.
Okay, makes
Right.
sense.
So you can, less is more for some instances. So what we want to do is we want to get our pan. We're going to want to start off with a little bit of sauce on the bottom.
Okay, sauce on the bottom. I would think you'd put the pasta on the bottom, but I like that there's sauce on the bottom.
Reason we put our sauce on the bottom is so we don't stick that bottom pasta layer to the bottom.
Good idea.
So that way, just a nice light little layer like such. Just enough so that way when we lay our,
So you're really not coating the entire bottom of the pan. You're just putting it on enough. So there's something, a barrier between the layer of lasagna and the
your
bottom.
pasta noodle, yep, your lasagna noodle in the pan. So that way, like I said, this doesn't stick to the bottom of it. And then as you go to cut it out, whole bottom layer is on the
Right.
bottom. This will now allow it to pop right out. So with these guys, see how flimsy,
I know, they're
see how
amazing.
thin they are, right? Really
They're
pretty cool.
Definitely.
So
different.
depending on your pan size, for us, it's almost a full layer to layer it straight across, just like such. And then all I usually do is break them in and fill in the gaps. Because as it bakes, they won't necessarily blend together, right?
Right.
But when you go to cut it out, you won't be really missing it.
There won't be a piece without any lasagna or any pasta.
Any pasta in it, right? So we got that. Another spoon. Any spoon.
Spoon, go
Just like
over,
this
yep.
one. Now we're going to keep this. Another kitchen trick.
Okay, what are we doing now? That's,
Homemade hot pot holder. See that?
oh,
Don't ruin your countertop, don't ruin your cutting board.
just use the tools that you
Just
have
use the
at the
tools
bottom.
that you have.
I like it.
So when we're doing this one, we want to go in layers. Actually, what we want to do is we want to put this down first. The reason we want to use our ricotta first is because we want to be able to spread it evenly over our noodles. So what we're going to do is the amount that we have, we're going to
Right.
want to make sure that we go 3 layers. So pretty much taking like a third of
Third.
it.
Got it.
Yep. And then all I do is just plop them down. And just do a light spread. Try to get it all over, a nice even one. It's not gonna, you don't gotta be too crazy with it because it will, like I said, it'll blend together nicely as it bakes. There we go. And it is important that you don't have too much of your tomato sauce because we're trying not to add a lot of liquid moisture
Right.
to it, right? Otherwise, it just turns into mush when you go to pull it out.
Exactly.
So having it set like this. So if you have your slices of mozzarella, the mozzarella as they call it,
Absolutely.
you'll just go ahead and layer them in just like this, keeping in mind that as it melts, it's going to spread. So pretty evenly here. Let me build our next one.
Okay. So not too much mozzarella.
No.
You want to fill in the gaps maybe a little bit, but
Because it's going to blend. So if your mozzarella is thicker sliced than how I sliced ours,
Right.
then yeah, it'll spread a lot more. So, you know, if you had the thick sliced about as thick as your pinky there, 6 would be enough because as it heats up and melts.
It's all,
it'll
it's a
blend
good
nice.
go.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I still think those don't really look like noodles. It's just bizarre to me, but what a great invention.
Took them over 100 years, but they got it.
They got it. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
that's,
got it.
that's all that counts. is We finally got there.
So, take another third of our ricotta. Nice little spread here.
You have a question.
Go ahead, caller.
Where do we add the Parmesan?
You can add them in your layers right now as you want. So a little bit, I usually kind of just top it. But if you're gonna add it in your layers, go right ahead.
That's a great question because I really think I like Parmesan cheese, so it would be nice to have it in the middle of the lasagna.
Yeah, and you'll notice that it's a nice salty flavor. so
Right,
you-
it's a little
you will
different.
notice it. And all you would do is just in your layers,
Okay, there you go.
put a
Sprinkle
little
it in.
bit just like that.
Great question. Now, if I was a mushroom lover, could I add mushrooms to this?
Absolutely.
So I know there's a lot of mushroom lovers out there. That's something that would be great. You could add to it, and then you have all of the meats and mushrooms.
Even a step further,
Okay,
if you're a vegetarian, you could make this sauce. Take your mushrooms, take some zucchini, take some eggplant.
okay.
You could roast it all and then layer it exactly the same.
Oh, that's a great
And
idea.
then you have a nice vegetable lasagna. Typically, when you make a vegetable lasagna, it's always a white sauce, so kind of like an Alfredo sauce.
Right, that would make
But-
sense.
Nothing wrong with having a little tomato sauce for it.
I like that twist because there's so many people that don't want to eat meat right now that that's a great option.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, if you're gonna use mushrooms or zucchini,
Right.
remember, always cook them first. So whether you want to saute it or you roast them because you want to extract that moisture, you don't want the moisture to be in here as it's cooking. All that water content is going to seep out. You want to make sure that that's out before you go.
So would we strain them just like we did the meat?
Just like the meats,
Okay.
if you roast them, they'll dry out on their own naturally, right? If you were to saute them, you'll get the water out. But yeah, you'd want to make sure that we're not adding any more moisture than our cheeses. And
Right,
That's
to
really
the
all
dish.
we want to,
Perfect.
yeah.
That's a good idea, good point.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a new recipe. right now.
I know, dude. You're probably always thinking about it.
Not always,
I
but
can
it's,
make
it's,
sure
u-
it
it's usually, something that will be like, oh, I have an idea. And usually my ideas turn out a little crazier than others when it comes to the kitchen. That's the fun of it, and that's why I love to do it, because, you know, if you're not having fun, then you're working. I really don't like to work.
Right.
so-
Hey, if you have to work, you better love what you do.
That's right. So we're gonna go,
So how many people do we have on tonight, Jennifer? While we're making our next layer?
We have 38 people that joined us this evening.
Wow, 38
Nice.
people. Does anybody have their lasagna completely finished yet, so we can take a look at it?
Miranda is done and she has shared it with us. and It's amazing.
Oh,
The
fantastic.
legally browned cheese on top.
Oh,
She also enjoyed the cocktail.
oh, they made that already too? I like it. Did anybody tell us how to say it, pronounce it correctly yet?
Did we ask?
Yeah, we asked, I think when you were coming in. So this is our last layer.
yeah, so you make sure we don't use all of our sauce in our last thing. Because we're gonna wanna top it.
So we're gonna put the, one more layer of
Of
the
pasta
pasta on
sauce,
top.
yeah, and then we're gonna wanna top that with our sauce and some cheese.
Okay,
We don't wanna put the ricotta on the top because
obviously
that's
that's
just
in the
gonna be a
middle.
mess, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like a good enough amount of sauce there.
Right, to do the final coating.
Yeah.
Okay, our pan is getting full.
Yes, it
I am
is.
noticing
That's all right.
we are a little full.
Then our top layer.
Obviously, everything cooks down, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna shrink a whole lot, but it's not gonna expand.
Okay.
So that's the piece that you don't have to worry about. Is it getting bigger? Like a cake, is it gonna rise? Oh, it's rising out.
Right. It's right.
We won't get that far.
Okay, perfect.
And we want to make sure that we top it with sauce and
Right.
cheese so that way. Looking good. We got any questions out there? Comments, concerns? Add the Parmesan
Everybody's
cheese.
doing great.
And then for cheese.
Perfect.
There. And then, of course, our Parmesan.
Oh,
And
that
same-
looks amazing.
And same thing with your Parmesan, whether you're using grated or shredded.
Right.
You know, obviously, if you're using shredded, you're gonna not need so much because there's more cheese per volume as opposed to when it's grated like this. Don't use it all because you want some for garnish.
Absolutely.
All right. How's that?
Oh,
Looks
that
good.
looks amazing,
I'm gonna do
everybody.
a light little press on it.
So great.
All right, and then into the oven. 375. We're gonna set a timer for. We're gonna put bread in 10 minutes later, so let's set a timer for 17 minutes.
We are set.
All right. Ready for cocktail hour?
Let's have happy hour.
Let's get into cocktail hour.
I'm gonna grab my
Sounds good to
water.
me. All right. How many of you out there are familiar with Campari? Not a whole lot. If you've never had this stuff, be careful. It's strong in taste, not so much as alcohol content, but. So we're gonna need some Campari. We're gonna need some vermouth.
What is Campari? It's an alcohol?
It's
I've
an
never had it.
Italian liqueur.
Okay,
So it is a liqueur and not an actual spirit, so to
Okay.
speak, right?
got it.
And see, Negroni, right on the back. Buy it, it tells you how to make it. Perfect.
Oh, interesting. Would that be something that you'd also like splash with champagne?
You
Is that the
could,
right flavor?
yeah, you'll see here, take a smell of it.
Okay.
You'll see, it's real strong, actually.
Oh,
so
yeah, it is.
It's really strong. As far as a flavor, it's kind of like an orange zest.
It is. I like it. It smells good.
All right.
We do have Sandy, and she is willing to unmute herself because she actually knows how to say the drink.
Oh,
correctly.
fantastic.
So Sandy, if you would let us all know, we truly appreciate that.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. It's Negroni Sbagliato.
Sbagliato. Negroni Sbagliato.
Thank you so
There
much
we
for
go.
sharing. We love that. I'm not sure if I can say it again. To be honest.
Just keep your Google Translator closed.
Exactly. We're gonna keep playing Sandy's version.
So we got a nice pipe on this.
All right.
What we're gonna need is how much of what are we using?
Oh, we need quantity.
Yep,
Okay, we certainly don't want to mix that up too much.
and we're gonna need some Prosecco.
So that is the champagne, so got it.
Something sparkling.
So what does the vermouth do to the flavor?
We're about to find out.
But I mean, I'm asking for like a verbal.
So it's, I mean, vermouth is used in martinis,
Okay.
right?
I smell that.
Traditionally. So gin and vermouth. So what
Right.
we want to use for that is you're gonna
I'm
do
not a big drinker with that. Oh, yeah. it's
two
definitely has
tablespoons for that.
2 tablespoons of vermouth.
Yep, and 2 tablespoons of
And I'm
the
putting them in a
Campari.
measuring cup.
Put in the measuring cup. Happy
I
New
always
Year.
jump with that. It doesn't matter when. I just always just scares me.
And then you're gonna go 2 tablespoons of that. So it's gonna
So it's
be
even.
equal parts,
Equal
that's
parts,
correct,
okay.
equal parts. So whether you're making 5 or 6, just times them by equal parts and you'll be ready to go.
So this is basically liquor, 3 liquors, 3 alcohol,
Liqueurs.
liqueur.
Yes, so
Okay.
they're gonna be slightly
Seems
different.
like, okay, liqueur, but it has a high alcohol content.
No, this one's only 24% by volume,
Oh,
so
okay.
a lower end.
Okay.
And then the vermouth is really, really low. in alcohol content. 16%.
Okay,
So
so that's
it's-
good. I just was going, wow, you're like putting all this alcohol in there. I just wanna.
Yeah, so they're
looking.
liqueurs, not spirits, so they're not high in alcohol
Okay,
content.
good to know.
The flavor profile is gonna be much higher than your spirit. So your spirits
Exactly.
are strong, but not very flavorful.
Right.
With these guys here, you're gonna get a lot more flavor than you are with the punch.
That's what I was smelling. And then this obviously is gonna tone it down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And then we're gonna use a slice of orange. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that orange flavor right on in. Go right ahead and pour our oil on our highball there. And serve with an orange slice. Such.
So that's your cocktail. That's a nice presentation too. I like the orange slice.
Pretty simple, pretty easy, and then same thing. So traditionally take it,
Squeeze it in.
throw it in there.
And the Campari has a lot of orange.
Yeah, it's like an orange peel essentially, right?
Right,
So
it
that's that
does. When you
flavor.
smell it, it definitely does have a lot of orange flavor.
Definitely give that a try and tell us what you
Okay.
think.
That is good. There is a lot of flavor in there. There is a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
how's that vermouth in there? Ooh, yeah. So more like like a martini, right? But without that high gin.
Yeah.
This
that's what-
one here on the back of our bottle says to add the gin instead of the bubbly. So we decided to add a little bubbly, so it gives a little
There we go.
sparkliness to it.
Right,
Little
exactly.
fizz.
No, it's very good. Very good. I hope you guys
All right.
enjoyed that.
Cocktail hour, all ready to go. Well, what do we got next? You know what we got next?
What?
I have some extra ricotta,
Okay.
and I feel like you need to know how to make some cannoli filling.
Oh, that sounds
You
fantastic.
ever
So we're
had
gonna,
cannoli filling?
you think we can just kind of pull it off right now in between our
Our
lasagna?
lasagna's doing our
Okay.
thing. We got a cocktail. Our oil's being infused.
Perfect,
Let's go ahead.
perfect. A
All we're gonna
little
need for this-
impromptu cannoli.
Yeah, real super simple. Cannoli
Alright.
filling. If you go out to the restaurant and you
Yeah.
eat a cannoli, I want to say 9 out of 10 of them is going to have cream cheese in it.
Okay.
True cannolis do not have any cream cheese in it.
Why do you think they put that in there when normally it's not gonna have it?
Sweetens it up a little more.
Okay,
Instead of adding a whole bunch of sugar to it, it'll give it a sweeter flavor, right?
okay,
So ricotta cheese, people are kind of turned off on it, like, oh, that's a dessert.
right,
So cannoli filling is just as follows. It is ricotta cheese.
okay,
It is powdered sugar, confection sugar.
okay.
It is some vanilla extract. If you want to get real crazy and traditional, splash of rum,
Oh, that probably does add a new, different flavor to it.
a little touch of cinnamon if you want. Since we're going to be doing like a berry cannoli without the shell,
That sounds really good.
so what we'll do is I got about a half a cup Looks like a full cup. Full cup of ricotta.
Okay,
And then we're gonna wanna do a couple of tablespoons. Start with 2 and see how that goes. We're gonna add a pinch or a dash of it.
so we know you guys don't have the supplies at home in case you don't have these supplies, because
You
we're
may.
doing this.
You may have confection sugar.
might.
You may have some vanilla in there.
But if you don't worry, we are gonna put the recipe in the group chat.
It's just another way to, if you got some extra ricotta instead of it going bad.
I think what a fun little dessert, just if you want something sweet too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's only the 3 ingredients. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple. Throw some chocolate chips in there if you want.
Oh, that sounds
Some
great.
pistachios if you want.
I guess it's endless.
It really is. I know for a fact we're gonna need another one of these before we get in.
And you can tell by the consistency. So you're looking at it and want it a little bit.
I can tell, yeah, so as soon as I started mixing and as fast as that sugar dissolved, I knew we're gonna need one more. Little tester if I may.
Perfect.
And that's sweet.
Oh, good.
Perfect. So then what we're gonna do is we have our cannoli filling.
That's so simple.
If you're gonna make cannolis, if you go and you get the shells, you go to your
Right.
Italian store, you order them off Amazon, however, you wanna make sure you're using whole milk ricotta cheese.
Okay, good
You
to
wanna
know.
make sure that you strain all the water off.
Okay,
So you
so
saw
you
how there
just
was a,
take it, you dump
throw
it
it
in
in
the
the
strainer.
strainer, let it sit there for half an hour. Make
Okay,
sure all the water's gone.
right, because
Because
it's,
you see, that is not gonna stay inside of the shell, right? So
Right.
you wanna make sure that there's no water whatsoever when you go to make this filling.
okay, good point.
So that way you can pipe it into a cannoli shell.
Let me ask you a question. So a cannoli shell, I'm sure like anything else, they're not all the same. Is there a better brand to buy? Is there one that you like, you prefer?
They're all pretty much the same, the best is, the fresher the better. So once you get them, use them. If you're not gonna use them right away, keep them in your freezer so you'll keep them fresh.
Oh, that's a great point. So even if you bought a pack, you wanna make sure you throw the extra in there.
Yeah, because they'll get stale real fast, like a
Okay.
chip. They'll take on flavors that you sit something next to. So like if we had a cannoli shell out on the counter on the same plate as an onion, it would then take on that onion flavor.
Oh,
So
interesting.
just like chocolate does, chocolate takes on flavors of the
Right.
surrounding if it's not properly stored.
Good
So-
point.
So what we'll do is we'll take our filling. I have a nice little glass here.
Oh, we're gonna make it fancy.
I have some fresh berries in the fridge. So what we want to do basically is we'll kind of layer it. So let's just take a little berry. Little filling. More berries.
That looks delicious.
Thomas said, wow.
I know, this looks amazing. And took us what, 5-10 minutes to do? I mean,
Yeah, just a couple minutes.
Look
Super
at how
simple,
pretty.
super easy.
that is so fun. And what a great way to serve it for a party. I love that, the way that looks and how simple.
Yeah, and then like you said, you want to get take a mint leaf, right? Presentations,
Oh,
everything.
absolutely. I know the way you present, I love
A
it.
little mint leaf, just a little more punch.
Oh, I know, we'll just add that little bit extra. Look at that. It's just the way you just, even the plating, I love it.
Yes, a shaker, or you put it in your, if you have like a strainer, just dust it right on the top there. Then it goes so far. So nice, simple way to utilize
I love that. Looks amazing.
little extras cannoli, and with fresh berries, you can't go wrong with fresh
Oh,
berries,
absolutely.
right? How's everyone doing at home?
What do you guys think
We
about
got
it?
any questions going on? Nice little dessert there.
Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Here, what do you think of that?
Oh, that's so good. I like your cinnamon idea. I
Yeah,
like the
touch a
idea,
little,
throw a little bit of
little
cinnamon in this.
cinnamon in there. Mhm.
I think it'll be really amazing.
And a little, like I said,
I like the chocolate too. I mean,
the
that sounds like it'd be
the
great.
secret is the little dash over on it.
Oh, I mean, where you could tell though, you could use, I mean, it would be a great flavor.
Yeah, and it's versatile, like you said. We can go on and on and on of how many flavors you want, right? So if you're gonna make the filling and cannoli filling, no moisture in here. You want to add extracts to it, because then that way you can get the flavors without adding any moisture. So berries will obviously make it stay loose like this because of the
Right.
water content. But like a pistachio, you can grind those up and stick them in here, and it's gonna
Will it be
It won't-
binding, more binding, bind it together? a little?
actually, yeah, because nuts are a thickening agent, so they will help it bind it some, not a whole lot, but it will. But you'll still be able to get the flavor. So like if you go places in cannolis, typically chocolate chips are always thrown inside.
Or even shaved on the top, like.
Just right on the
That would
top.
be so good.
Right, yeah, absolutely. White chocolate would go
Oh,
fantastic. with
really
that
good.
right there.
Okay, you're making me hungry now. All
Dessert
right.
before dinner
I
already?
know, but it's really good. I could eat that whole thing. All right, so now what?
What's our timer looking like? We got 2 minutes on the timer. We got any questions out there?
Anyone else want to share some pictures? I'm sure some of your lasagna's getting done. Oh, we have to put the
Okay.
bread in.
Hey, Chef. This
We have a
Timer.
question about the bread?
Our timer is set for our bread. So
Okay.
when our timer goes off, then we put our bread in.
Perfect.
And then lasagna and bread will be ready to come out.
Okay, so our 17 minutes was timed, when it goes off, we're time to put our
Put our
bread in.
bread in, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, we got a question out there? I heard someone with a question.
yeah, I think someone wants to know if what kind of vermouth did you use? Is it dry or sweet?
I believe we used a dry vermouth.
Does it say?
This one doesn't say, usually it would
It's
say.
a sweet red.
This one's a
It's a
sweet
sweet
red.
red.
And I think actually you would want to use a sweet vermouth as opposed to a dry for this because of this Campari flavor.
Okay,
This Campari flavor is very bitter almost because it has that orange peel flavor
Yeah.
to it. If you were to drink this by itself, you would definitely be like, ugh. Actually, it says right on bitter.
there you go.
Any other questions out there? Let's take a peek at ours.
Let's take a peek.
Ooh, look at it, working away, working away. Nice. All right,
It's looking good.
Yeah. well, I guess we could get our bread ready since our timer's about to
Sounds
go
good.
off. here.
Do we have to mix this at all, or is this just so?
That is gonna sit there just like that.
'Cause it looks like some of the herbs have settled, so they're settling on the bottom, and
Yep,
that's
it's all
Okay.
infusing, yeah, absolutely. And what we're gonna wanna do is we'll strain that off so that way you can leave it like that if you wanted to. If you wanted to have a big chunk of garlic or rosemary in your teeth later, that's fine. But
You make it sound so appealing.
I wouldn't recommend it. So there's our time. So with your
I'm gonna
breads, you're
put this
taking
back in the
bakes.
refrigerator.
Perfect. These guys are great. This La Brea Bread Company, if you find these breads in your stores, these are fantastic.
So where do you find that? What aisle, like what what's with it? Just regular bread?
Over by your bakery.
Okay, so maybe the deli section, the bakery,
Over
kind of
by
all
the,
of that
yeah, the
area.
bakery where there's fresh breads and stuff. You usually find stuff like this. They have a rosemary bread. That's fantastic. They got a 3 cheese bread. They have lots of breads. What I like to do with these guys, these ones are take and bake, so they're par cooked.
Right,
This is a nice rustic roll. When using dipping bread, you want to use a roll that's going to be hard like, right? A hard dough roll, meaning
Right.
that it's going to have crust.
but some of those other ones that you buy that are already done, I feel like they're really hard.
Too done.
Right,
Right.
like overdone, right? So
Yeah.
this looks good because
Plus-
it will be softer.
Not only that, but we're going to heat this up, right? So we're going to want to add to it. We're going to want to have a nice fresh bread coming
Exactly.
out of the oven. So what I like to do with them, is I like to wrap them in foil. And the reason I like to wrap them in foil is so that way this outside doesn't get too hard, because it will.
Because that's maybe what the other ones are doing that are really hard to do.
Exactly. So I got a nice, we put foil in here.
So we're wrapping it tight.
Yeah, just enough to cover it. So it's gonna warm it and it's not gonna overdo the
Perfect.
outside of the bread. So we'll get this guy in our oven. We're gonna wanna go another 10 minutes on that guy.
10 minutes.
Yep. How's everyone's lasagnas doing? Looking good out there? Looking nice and bubbly, starting to get a little golden brown on the top? Not yet? What else we got? What do we got coming up next month?
Jennifer,
Shrimp and crab boil, now what we're doing? The
doing the
Cajun
seafood
seafood
the
boil?
seafood boil. Now,
Yeah.
okay, I'm
How
a little
excited
nervous
is-
about that one.
Are you allergic to shellfish? Is that
No,
okay.
I just feel like that is a lot to take on. I'm
It
excited to
seems
see
like
how you're
it.
gonna do it, but it seems like it's gonna be a lot to take on, so I'm looking forward to it, actually.
It's less steps than you think, so that's the best part. of it,
Okay.
right? It's not, it's more messy when you pull it out of the pot than it is getting it all in.
Because I always think, how you're gonna create the broth is really the critical element, right? Because that's where all your flavor comes from and how you're gonna flavor all that seafood.
Yeah, and the cooking process for those is typically pretty fast because it's all in the shell. You want to leave it in the shell so that way you'll be able to extract the flavor. So making a seafood broth. So if you're going to make a shellfish stock, as opposed to a beef stock and a chicken stock that you cook for hours and hours,
Right.
shellfish you only cook up to an hour. So if you're doing a seafood dish like a shrimp dish at home and you're buying shrimp in the shells and you're peeling them yourself, throw those shells into a saucepan,
Okay.
fill it up with water, half a lemon in there, a little Old Bay seasoning, salt, pepper, parsley if you got it lying around. If not, no worries. You can use dry herb, works just fine. Turn that on and bring that to a boil and boil it down pretty quickly so that way it'll reduce, and then strain those off and then use that stock and make a nice cream sauce with that.
Oh, wonderful.
Use that stock as your base and just a world of difference in your flavor.
Absolutely, because you have all that just in there, infused in there.
Yeah, it's and it goes and it's quick and it's fast, right? So doing those things as opposed to your chicken stock or your beef stock, you're extracting the marrow out of the bones to put that flavor into your stock. So all that time takes 4 to 6 hours
Right.
to reduce down and reduce down and reduce down to really flavor the water to
Right.
get that stuff.
Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
We got a question out there?
We don't, but I was just gonna throw it out there. So the recipe that chef is using has clams, lump crab meat, andouille sausage, and shrimp. So those are gonna be our seafood to go.
Some lump crab, yeah. So this one, we'll keep the crawfish out of it to not scare anybody. But same thing, it's relatively a fast cooking process. You want to get your broth going. You want to be able to fortify all those flavors,
Right.
and then you add your seafood into it, and then
I mean,
it cooks
quick.
fast.
Yeah,
And then you
absolutely.
pull them out and set them up and put your bib on and dive in, essentially. If you're gonna do crab legs or you're gonna do the crayfish, have you been to what's
New
it,
Orleans?
angry crab?
No.
Oh, you've been.
I've been in New Orleans, I just haven't been to Angry Crab.
You've done a traditional crab boil?
Yes,
It's pretty fun.
it is
messy.
fun. It's messy. You gotta bid for that.
Which is good. It's one of the things I like to do at my communities, with my residents is do that with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You throw out the newspaper on the tables and you give them all their own individual dish, of course, so that
Right.
that way it's not too messy, but that's always one that they really enjoy because
Oh, that's fun.
you bring that experience to them.
Right,
They
it's
might
kind of
not-
lively and everybody's
Yeah,
having fun
they-
with it, trying to crack their
Yeah,
shells and.
it is a good time. So it's a good way to bring people together and have a lot of fun with it. It's a great opportunity when you're having a party to be able to do this and then just like most of the time it's just dropped out onto the table
Right.
and everybody just digs in and dives into it. So it's quite an
Awesome.
experience to do. I always enjoy
Absolutely.
stuff like that.
So Beth, I think we just have probably 5 more minutes until chef plates. Do you have any, I guess, any quick market update here for us in Arizona with real estate?
Absolutely. So we've seen our inventory creep up recently. We were down to a low of 4,700 active listings in the Maricopa County MLS, and we're now up to about 7,500. So we've really come back up. We're still about 1,000 below a typical normal market, but we're probably going to see some of that get distributed quickly once our winter visitors show up. So we're kind of ending the summer with a great time to buy. So if you've been on the sidelines and waiting to purchase, I would definitely sneak in there now before our winter visitors come and take up some of our inventory, which I'm expecting to see. And they start trickling in November, December, and then really start ramping up big time in January when the weather elsewhere obviously isn't as good as here. So I think we're going to see some changes. The other thing that I find interesting that they're talking about is the banks have been willing to let people that are in default slide. So we believe that the first round of those are going to be starting to come on the market in September. So those people that haven't been able to make their payments are going to have they're going to have actually what's the word I'm trying to say here? They're actually going to have money in their home. So they're going to decide to probably sell their property and wait and get rid of their home because they aren't going to be able to afford their payments. So we're going to see that inventory starting to creep up in September, October, and November as the banks are going to start sending out the notice of defaults. So we're going to start seeing that inventory come on. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if people are going to sell because they have the equity or if they're going to go ahead and try to keep those homes. And Arizona, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. We're all kind of waiting for that and seeing how it plays out. And I hope people get jobs and can keep their homes. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated as we do this every month and let everybody know what's happening. But if you do want to buy, now's the time.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
The straining process.
All right.
So we'll take our olive oil,
Oh, I love that part.
just do a nice strain. Pretty simple.
Now the olive oil has all the flavors, but you don't have the chunks of.
And if you get a little in there, it's not gonna be too big of a deal. But then, yeah, you won't have all that. We have all the flavor of that.
Right.
But you don't have all that stuff.
That in your on your bread, which is probably better.
Right, so with this right here, would you throw that in the trash?
No, I mean, would you use it for some cooking?
Absolutely.
I mean, because this would be a great to save and cook with. And now you have this, I guess, marinated
We would have
fresh
some
herbs.
marinated rosemary, that's right.
And
Yeah,
shallots. I mean,
yep, so you could, same thing, so you could essentially take some of that oil, let's say throw it on some chicken breast. Marinate your chicken breast with our herb infused olive oil, right? I would take this and then I would add this to a saute pan.
perfect.
Lightly saute, add some chicken stock, reduce it down. You could add some heavy cream at that point.
Oh,
You could add just a touch of butter at that point, and then you have a nice rosemary sauce to put on top of your chicken.
oh, that
Whether
sounds
you
great.
grill it, whether you roast it in the oven, pan sear it, however you want.
That's a great idea.
So I would
So that's
definitely,
definitely put in a Ziploc bag or a small
Absolutely.
container.
a Ziploc bag is great. Throw it in the fridge. This will stay for, it'll stay for almost 30 days essentially.
Really? Wow, that's a
As
lot
long as
longer than
it's-
I would thought.
As long as it
it's sealed.
stays, yep, as long as it stays, because your garlic that you buy in your jars that are in oil, that's all that it is.
Right.
So same thing with your shallot, so. Definitely keep that, don't discard that just yet until you use it in the future.
Perfect. I love that.
This looks good. We got a couple minutes on a timer, 2 minutes.
We do have a question for you, Beth.
Yeah.
You said now's a good time to buy, is it a good time to buy a rental or investment property?
Absolutely. I mean, a great example is we just sold one of our rental properties and purchased another one. So we took something that we thought wasn't a great investment. We actually purchased it when the market was high. So we're finally able to get our money out of it. We bought something that we thought was going to yield us more money. In the end, it'd be a better property. So I just bought one. So I would recommend we just have to look and find the right one. So we'd love to help you do that.
MJ wants to know how can they get an apron?
Well, we can send you an apron.
Subscribe now, share with your friends.
Yes, share. How about you give us a referral?
That's right.
Give us a referral, someone that wants to buy or sell, and we will send you an apron. We'd love to have everyone in the audience with our aprons on. That would be fun.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
I know, I can't wait to take a look at all this.
I don't want to open it.
Oh, the timer. So we have our bread coming out. We have the lasagna coming out. Do you need some pot holders or are you good with the towels?
I can do this.
I have both.
Okay.
And obviously everything needs to be set up there.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks amazing. I see the bubbling on the sides.
Yep, nice little bubbling action there.
That looks amazing.
See, no real wiggle, right? No looseness in the middle.
Right.
So that lets us know that it's got a good, nice set to it. So with this, you don't want to dive into it right away.
Right, we need to have it set for a few minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, 20, 30 minutes if possible.
Okay.
What I recommend is what you do like with cakes is what you do is you turn your oven off, you open the door, set a timer for 20 minutes. It allows to set and cool, but also stay warm at the same time.
So the reason for that, otherwise it gets a little runny.
What'll happen is if we go to try to cut a square, so you know when you think of lasagna, you
Right.
think of a nice square shape or rectangle shape, and you see the layers and they all stack up nicely,
Absolutely.
right? So if we were to go to cut into this right now, it'll kind of come out in that shape, but as soon as we put it on a plate, it'll turn into like mush, right? Then the rest of it will slide into that empty space.
Right. that
So
does make
that's
sense.
where you
I
lose
think I've
it.
done that before. Probably not the best, but I like the idea of waiting, but you know, usually you make the lasagna, you're hungry, you're ready to
Everyone's
cut
ready
it.
to go. Yeah, so this would be the great time. Go hop in the shower, put your feet up for a minute. That's when you're ready to sit down and
Drink your-
enjoy.
Your drink that we made,
Yeah,
that I can't say.
cocktail
Cocktail.
hour out on the veranda.
Gotcha.
That works too. But yeah, you definitely want to let this rest up a little bit before you dive right on into it. And that piece that you get out first might sit okay. It's the rest of the lasagna is
That's
gonna
gonna sit.
fall into that
Right,
empty
right.
space.
That makes sense.
So that's why you want to be careful with that.
So anyone else want to share with us a picture of your lasagna? Tell us what you thought of the cocktail.
I'm gonna unspotlight Beth, so if anybody wants to turn on their camera and share, you're more than welcome.
We'd love to see that. Please share. I think we're gonna wait to cut ours a little bit until after we're done here, but don't you think?
I think, well,
Otherwise
for
it's
our
gonna
sake, yeah, if we go ahead and try to do plate up right now, it'll just look like a rack.
It will
We don't
look
want
good.
that.
We'll take a picture later and put it online for you guys, so you can see what ours look like after we played it.
That sounds good.
Anything else? Are we seeing any other pictures?
Ian was having that.
Jennifer is helping us get the pictures together.
There we go.
And what did everybody think of the cocktail? And cheers. We want to say cheers to everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And we're just looking at all the great photos you guys are throwing up there.
Alex, good, you guys.
Like amazing. It looks so good. What did you think of all of the meats in that? And have you ever made it like that before? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I know we've never had it that way, so I'm excited to try it.
Another sneak peek of what you can do with lasagna is you could sneak in ground turkey into that and no one's gonna know.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Little less fattening, so to speak, but yeah, used ground turkey, same sauce technique we did, the onions, the garlic, the tomatoes, all those dried herbs that we had, and you put that in there with ground turkey.
Wow.
Anyone's gonna know that that's what you did.
That is a great idea.
Get those kids to eat that ground turkey.
I like that too.
Sneak it in your pasta sauce.
Absolutely. Well, anything else, Jennifer, that you can think of that we should add? Anybody? Will you guys enjoy your dinner? Thank you so much for cooking with the Rider Elite team. We'd love to hear more from you, so please throw anything else in the chat box. Come join us next month. We're going to be putting a flyer out there of the dates and times, and it'll be Chef Jude. And thank you again for joining us. We appreciate
Absolutely,
it.
it's my pleasure.
Everybody have a great night.
Good night,
and
everyone.
Cheers.